what's your take on this? How can you, love or share this pearl with people that are in that state?
Well, you can only share with those who wish to partake in your joy. And so there's two ways to look at this. One is recognizing that there are going to be an appreciable number of people who don't see the value in the pearl right now. And that's what I always keep in mind, right now.
Right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe later on they might, but that doesn't make them my enemy. See? And so I won't, when Jesus, I think what he mentioned about throwing pearls before swine is sharing the good news of the kingdom with someone who is not ready. There are many people who are just so material minded and lack such spirituality that if you were to share spiritual things with them, they cut you down with sarcasm or tell you you're stupid and ignorant. And so for those people, you should not uh, you should not try to convert or share them. They're using their free will in a certain way, and so you leave them in peace. But there are so many people who are ready for a spiritual encounter if we have the wisdom on how to do an interchange with them. And since I spent so many years in ministry, in my prior religious association of trying to convert people, I know that that has very little beneficial outcome to it. But if you can just share something good with a person, uh, just I always like Jesus' method of just being your friend first, you know. Um, and sharing spiritual things doesn't always necessarily mean opening a book and reading passages about things, you
Maybe
know.
it's the least thing that you have to do,
Exactly. Yeah. So I just, we learned that Jesus went about doing good and he traveled among people of different backgrounds and he always found something positive to say. And it's so easy when we get with someone to dwell on negative things that are going on and just talking about negative energy. But why not just why not just pursue uh, something positive and interesting and beneficial? Hi, James. Welcome.
Hey, James, welcome. So we just started, and I mean, we've been talking, but you're coming in good. So my question to you is, what does the pearl represent? What is the pearl?
Ah, well, there we are. That's the heart of the whole thing, isn't it? Well, the pearl is a symbol.
Yes.
A parable is an allegory that uses abstract uh, abstract objects to talk about uh, concrete things. And in this case, the pearl, it just represents something that this merchant is willing to go out and sell everything so that he can purchase this pearl of great price. So it is an analogy. It's sort of a parable, um, but it goes along with all these. We we first have to talk about the kingdom of heaven because that's the prelude to this. Is that all of these parables have to do with the kingdom of heaven. So when we're unpacking these parables, we have to default back to what we know about the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, I mean, what we were talking about, James, is that what does this pearl represent? And we were saying that the pearl is something that has value. It's a treasure, but it also in culture and everything we give that. What is that value? What is that pearl? And like you were saying, it's the kingdom. And Don and I we're saying that what do you place of the highest value? What is that pearl? It's and what I like about this is that a pearl can represent different things to anybody, but it is something that is of great value to that person. So each one has different perceptions of what is valuable in that sense. So in your opinion, from what you're saying, is that the pearl represents the kingdom, and what else could it represent? Or in your case, what is that of value?
I think we first need to ask ourselves, what is our emotional program for happiness? Because what we're talking about is joy and happiness, and most of us are governed by our unconscious programs for happiness, which are all tied into the secular world, the materialistic things that we think about when we're talking about stuff that has great value. But this teaching, it invites us to transcend all of those secular material things and go for the things that are of eternal value, and which is spiritual joy. And that's what we get when we step into the kingdom through faith. That's a really important aspect of it, is that we receive the joy and the happiness.
And one of the things that we were mentioning is that we kind of sell off the negative, or not the negative, the things that are not of value. Throughout life, I mean, we accumulate stuff, and we probably accumulate material stuff. But when we find this value, when we find this pearl, when we find this treasure, it's when we take everything that we have, all of our material possessions, and one of the things that we're saying, the negative, or like I said, I don't want to say the negative, but what doesn't add value to us, we give that. And that's what we believe in. And what I believe is that he sold everything he possessed in order to get this value. You get rid of everything that is not of value to you to get to this. So what's your take on this of getting rid of everything, of selling everything? What is that to you?
Well, it's you're diving right into the heart of this. Like all parables, the pearl of great price, it's a story about choices. It's a story about choices, and when the pearl is discovered and its value is realized, the backstory is revealed without even really mentioning the backstory, because the backstory is that something was missing. When you framed it in a sense of a negative, it's not necessarily a negative, but it is something missing. Otherwise, this merchant wouldn't have been so jazzed, to find this pearl of great price and to go out. So something was missing in his life, and he made a choice. Like all parables, you go through them. The prodigal son, one of the most famous parables. It's about the son making choices and going off into destitution, and the father making choices to receive him back, and the other son making choices to have resentment. Parables are always pointing us to choices and decisions. So that's what I would say in regard to that, is look for the choices, and also, because it's an allegory, you have to look a little deeper. There's something always floating around just beneath the surface in an allegory.
And in that case, what do you think is the allegory in this case?
Well, the allegory it's talking about making choices between material things and spiritual things. We know that material things, they're material and they are finite, and we know that spiritual things are infinite and eternal. So that's what the allegory is talking about. And back to this happiness. We talk about our programs for happiness, but it's in the Rancher book, it talks mostly about joy, about the joy that when we find this key into the eternal, that we're filled with joy, and it's the spiritual joy. That's the pearl of great price, or the coin that was lost and was found, or the leaven that was put into the loaves, the seed that fell on rich soil.
what you're saying is and I like this, and we also commented. Don and I were commenting on the the material and the secular world that we live in, and that we have to, and you were stating it, we have to sacrifice or do without these material things, or even not the without, because as we were saying, Jesus always gave the you know what's what's that to God and what's that to Caesar, and that is something that we have to also consider, that we're not divorcing from materialism and from the material reality, but that we're working with it. We're and Don was saying that we have to be very smart in how we engage and how we conduct ourselves, but we always have to keep this value, this pearl within us, so that we don't lose those fruits of the spirit. We have to keep this value, and it's the treasure that we find, and that something that we also said is that you just don't find it and put it away. You find it and you treasure it. You really embellish it and you bring it out.